Mute. It's kind of funny. I just went through my entire spiel and I was on mute. You would swear I haven't been doing this for years. Anyways, welcome to ACM Live, a show that covers the digital marketing world from a Caribbean perspective. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and with over 10 years of experience, I've made enough mistakes so you don't have to. As you'd have seen in the description, we're here to talk about blogging. I really have sort of an underlining reason for doing this. I actually need more Caribbean bloggers, but also I want to showcase for you as a Caribbean business owner why it's important. I actually have data to show you why. Before we get into that, make sure to smash that like, subscribe, follow button because this thing is for free. So it's the least you could do. Thanks, sir. Oh, hi. Good evening, Lucy. Thanks for joining me today. And I also will share at the end of this live session 2 avenues for you to pursue blogging. One being the volunteer option for LinkedIn Local that will give you access to the 1,000+ people we have in our database because we're always looking for content creators, as well as a paid option through AC Marketing Caribbean because we always need bloggers. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. I know it's kind of looking weird, my setup. If this is the first time you're joining me, I utilize these sessions as well to change my setup to see what's working and what's not working. Also today, just to FYI, LinkedIn was down for a hot second. It was as if the world was turning over. Like, seriously, I had to go to Twitter. That's when you know things are real. And it was trending for a little bit, but they eventually came back on. I don't know if everybody got LinkedIn back on, but today we're going to talk about blogging content, and I hope that this inspires you to blog away because I would happily read your content. All right, so I'm going to share my screen today, and I'm going to start with this very short this quote that is the epitome of why I think blogging is so hard for a lot of Caribbean people. We tend to have a lot to say and we want to say it all at once. And unfortunately, we don't live in a society that would dissect all those thoughts. So it is important for you to realize why you need to write something short. And I love this because I actually pulled this quote from a course I did on LinkedIn. And I found it so specific to why there's a difficulty with Caribbean content creators. And the quote goes, "I apologize for such a long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one." And that's why, we have very academic individuals who are great at thesis, but that doesn't translate well online, as well as you may be a journalist, but that doesn't translate well online, right? Because you are living in a society where the data shows you that you have all of 10 seconds to capture your audience. 10 seconds. So imagine what that is like for reading. And that's why the first sentence is so important. The things around story beats and things like that, but also like hyperlinks and all these other things I'm going to go through as much as I can for the short period having. But if you missed it and you're just joining us, know that at the end of the session, I'm going to share an event that we're going to have for LinkedIn Local where you have the opportunity to blog for LinkedIn Local Caribbean and get access to our database, as well as AC Marketing is always looking for bloggers. Hello, Yolanda from Bahamas. I've never been, would love to visit, but oh my goodness, the amount of planes I'll have to take to get to you. One of these days, we'll get Caribbean travel right. All right, so let's start this session. If at any point in time you have a question, make sure to slide into the comments. I see it. I'm going to give you a holler and respond. So let's start from the basics, right? Sorry about this because sometimes when I share my screen, for some reason, it does this thing that you can't see it. Let's try that again. Here we go. Great. So this is what I call my little pyramid of importance for content and the algorithm, right? And it's important to note, depending on your strategy and your audience, this may change, but from an overall perspective, this is usually what actually works, right? Video is king because it is how we consume content. We've done many blogs. You could head over to acmcaribbean.com/blog and look at the top 10 visited sites across the Caribbean, inclusive of Bahamas, Yolanda. We got you guys covered. And we see that YouTube is always top 5, top 2, top 3, guaranteed. And that means that we're consuming a lot of video content. Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook knows it. That's why he's trying to be the next YouTube and giving content creators like Jada Pinkett their own show with Facebook Watch. But YouTube was first in market, so it's very hard to touch that, but it shows you that that's where people are. Not where they're heading, that's where they are. Then you have text, right? And text is important, and this is where the lie is. We think that because we have so many people creating video content that nobody's reading blogs. I'm going to show you. You hold on right there. I'm coming to you just now to show you what I mean. And text is not just important with blogging, but it's also important with copywriting, because your image is nothing without really good text to support. And that's why I think it's even more important than images, because an image can fall flat, especially with our newsfeed being bombarded with thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of information that we don't really need, but we do it anyways. But this is what I believe is the importance when it comes to text versus video versus image. And again, I always have to give you a disclaimer and a caveat saying really is dependent on your strategy and your audience. To give you a quick example, if you're B2B and you're selling shoes, you can talk all you want about how great your shoes are. If you don't have an image to support it, hi, hello, I want to see your shoes, All right, so I spoke to you about this evidence, and here we have the evidence. Again, I'm going to have to remove my stream and bring it back because I'm dealing with real time here, and for some reason, it just doesn't work at times. I hope you can see this. If you're watching this on your phone, my apologies. But you may have to watch a replay on your laptop because sometimes, depending on how big your phone screen is, nowadays I don't know how big these people's phones are because I have an older phone. But you can see this information on a monitor screen much better. So this is a bit of insight into why we blog, right? So this is directly from data that's been pulled from a website. And I want to pull back for a second and share with you the strategy behind this particular piece of data. This data is based on a B2B client, right? B2B being business to business. And this piece of information actually gave us some really good insight in comparing running Facebook ads versus LinkedIn ads in addition to blog content, right? And we compared this into the same period where they did not have blog content. LinkedIn was nowhere to be found, right? This is Caribbean content that we used, and what we did is run the same content, but we focused mostly on the blog, and obviously with blog titles, I'm going to get into that in a second, why that's important. Gosh, I have so many things to get into. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm rushing this, but I might have to do a part 2 in this session. Hey, Brenda Lee. And what we found is people spend more time from LinkedIn to your blog, right? So they spend a little less time when they come from Facebook for this particular client, but also we saw a massive increase on the time spent on their page, meaning we're seeing a comparison where you have more visitors from Facebook coming and spending a little bit over a minute, and then you have the LinkedIn referrals, which are people coming directly from LinkedIn, spending over 3 minutes on your website. Now, I don't know if you have a website, but I'm going to tell you something. Anything over 10 seconds is a win. Anything over a minute is a dance. When we start getting to 3 minutes, I feel we just need to throw a fit because somebody winning because they're spending time on your website. And this is where I sip my tea. In the event that you have an agency and they don't have this data, you need to get with it, right? So this piece of information, and again, this is Caribbean content, showcases that people do want to consume text content that's relevant to them and speaks directly to them. And what do I mean by that? What we found is when we use words like Caribbean, it gets lost in the mix, because Caribbean from a global perspective means sun, sea, sand, palm trees, right? To some people, Mary Jane. But when you start talking about specific islands, that's us looking for ourselves. So when we identify a particular island in a blog title, that gets a higher piece of engagement than those and just have the word Caribbean. So it's very important to know those things, and you may have the best, idea, you have a well-researched blog, but if the title is not great, sorry, I'm real sorry. Trust me, I feel it. I've done some really good things and then came back and I'm like, hi, why is nobody looking at this? This also showcases the organic versus paid, meaning I'm going to get into what it means from an entrepreneur perspective. If you're running ads and you have a Facebook ad, for instance, and even if you have a B2C business, meaning you have shoes, maybe you can talk about what it means to walk around in your house with a brand new pair of shoes, because we clearly can't go anywhere, right? What type of shoes you may want to put together if you do have to go in the office, because they have people who do have to go in the office, and create content around that may not necessarily be text heavy, but it may be something that looks like a BuzzFeed article, top 5 outfits, something like that, throw some text in. But what I found is once you put that blog, that is what I mentioned earlier, that includes an island name and includes information that's specifically directed to your demographic, you're going to see this massive impact of your ad spend, right? And that's what this example shows. This is another client where, we were running ads, it was fine, but then we saw this massive spike because it spoke directly to the audience that we want to. This particular article was actually about Caribbean content creators that you should follow. And that was insanely high because we spoke directly to people who were engaging with LinkedIn content and who were from the Caribbean. So all those things have to tie back in. But again, this showcases to you that, people are consuming content from the Caribbean, and it's text. We smart people, Caribbean people smart, we just had to show ourselves. So this is giving you some quick insight. Again, I have to keep refreshing because the slide is not showing you, it's taking a little long to load, so I'm just going in and out. So this is giving you some key insights into things that your blog should have, and it's so interesting to learn when I have people who are want to join the team and want to be bloggers, and I ask for an example of their blogs. It's so clear that their experience is based on more traditional readers and not necessarily a reader that is going to be engaging with their content online, and that makes a huge difference. And this is giving you a bit of insight into things that your blog needs to have in order to be successful. So, if you want to come off of this live session and say, okay, I'm going to start blogging on LinkedIn, for instance, because LinkedIn is giving you a pre-set audience that you can get access to. Let's say you don't have a website. We're living in a world right now where opportunity is abound. These are some of the things that you need to include. Hyperlinks are extremely important because it's like if you are the new kid in the block and you have existing folks who are way more popular than you get invited to the popular party. That's what a hyperlink is, right? You want to be able to connect with other websites that would give your text leverage, right? But also it's relevant to your content, right? If you want to understand what that means, I feel you're going to have to Google it, or you can come to our event at LinkedIn Local next week, right? Keywords for SEO, and this is something that I think people tend to misunderstand, because SEO from a search engine optimization perspective is not just paying for keywords on Google. It's about making sure that the words that exist on your website are being read by external users. That's going to help your SEO. And that's what I mean by your blogs needing to have specific keywords for that user who's going on Google and typing in specific words. Chances are, if you type in Caribbean and marketing or Pauline Joseph, guess who's gonna be there? Oh, if you type in LinkedIn and Pauline, there for sure. For sure. Let me know. Try it. Let me know. Send me a screenshot. Let me know, right? Images are important because it really is a difference between someone clicking your blog and someone just scrolling through and skipping it, right? And what I have realized is images that are more Caribbean based, meaning, if you are from Trinidad, the Savannah is an obvious one. If you're from Bahamas, for instance, like Yolanda, who's on this live session, the pigs are a huge deal. Something that speaks directly to your local uniqueness, something that will pull the reader in, and you need to tie that back into the content. It makes a huge difference. When it comes to a footer, if you're a guest, for instance, if you're joining LinkedInLocalCaribbean.com and you've decided, okay, I want to access this 1,000 plus audience you keep talking about and showcase who I am, it's not going to benefit you unless you put your footer, right? And that goes back into the SEO as well. I always suggest to people, make your footer be your LinkedIn profile, because people want to learn more about you. Yes, you may have a business. Yes, you may have a service, but people invest in people first. And that footer should be something that's unique to you and drives the user back to a landing page that would continue the conversation and become a lead for more business. Similar to if you are guest blogging on somebody else's website, always put that footer. One of the beautiful things with LinkedIn Local website, Caribbean website, is it just comes from you as the author. So your image is going to be there, your profile is going to be there, which is usually the case for most setups for website templates. And that's when I mentioned the visible author. And I always say, you need to overuse that share button, because you need to be able to feel confident about the content that you're sharing, and you want people to see it, but also let other people share it. It's there's nothing wrong with asking a question. The worst they could say is no. So that is a must when it comes to the basics and blogging, right? Yolanda, you can register for our event next week if you want to start blogging and volunteer for LinkedIn Local Caribbean. And we also have AC Marketing, who we hire bloggers, but we would prefer a portfolio so we can see what we're working with. If you're building it from scratch, definitely head over to LinkedIn Local and volunteer there, right? So moving on to the types of blogs, this is something that you can scope the internet, and it is really easy to reference on the types of blogs, but it is make the decision dependent on the customer, right? Your end audience that you want to reach. And some of the times you want to be able to map out what that blogging looks like. So, you can map out sort of a general idea. That's what we do for our clients. We have one that renewed their contract at the beginning of the year, and we've already mapped out what the next 12 months are going to look like, sort of an overarching strategy. And it is around how-to series in a particular industry, but you can pull specifically on different elements, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how many words you need to describe how to open, how to register your business, for instance, in the Caribbean. That can take 5 blogs. I mean, Barbados, it might take 3 because a lot of this stuff is online, but Trinidad, it might take 5, right? Listicles are very popular on, it's what made BuzzFeed popular, right? And there's this idea of the top two, not top two, you usually have top three if it is that you're going in detail in the three. Top five, people tend to engage with that type of content pretty quickly because in their brain, when they see the heading, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels like you're just gonna spend a little, 1 minute to see. You're just gonna peruse this, and it can be text, it can be videos, because the beauty with a lot of websites is you can embed videos. So I did a blog on the top five things that content creators should be doing in the Caribbean during the pandemic, and it was mostly embedded with YouTube videos. So that's gonna, one, present this idea of not being overwhelming because the text is not heavy, but also two, gonna spike my SEO because those YouTubers already have huge followers, and I've now embedded that into my website, which is all part of the World Wide Web on Google. Opinion is something that everybody has. It doesn't necessarily have to be shared, but if you do choose to share it, I would suggest you support your opinion with facts, like I'm doing right now. I am of the opinion that we need more blogging, and I'm showing you why. Case studies, I think, is self-explanatory, and we need so many of them in the Caribbean because there's a lot of things that we don't know about ourselves. We've changed so much, not just during the pandemic, but the generation before us are still in the age of, well, back in the day when we should now be, okay, where we now. And I don't think people truly understand where we now. We are easily buying stuff for Amazon and not making an effort to support local because it's hard to support local. So do a case study, an excerpt from a white paper, for instance. That is what we call lead generation content, where you're able to bring in your thesis type of content. So it's very long, that may be a little overwhelming for some. So what you'll do is you'll pull a piece of that thesis, 4 or 5 paragraphs, but then you do a sort of a landing page and say, okay, if you would like to learn more, if you want to download this white paper, sign up here. And that way you're getting something by giving something. So you're building a database as a business owner, as someone who is building their portfolio, for instance. Who knows, maybe that can be a great idea for job hunting. It's something that I'm just going to put out there. It's up to you to decide what you're going to do with that information. But those are really great examples of ways that you can have a specific style of blogging, and it will help you drive the audience engagement, right? So when it comes to building your portfolio, and I think it's important for people to understand why it's important. I just duplicated the word there, but I just want to stress with you the need for us to have a portfolio. I have had way too many people asking about blogging and have no evidence. We're living in a world now where you can literally, like the website that we're on right now, and I'm streaming this live on LinkedIn, you can create your own blog portfolio. You have opportunities. All you have to do is put in the time. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of localized content, regional content, and that to me is also an opportunity because that will mean that you will stand out in the crowd, right? So I find it easy as someone who has to blog a lot for business that you start with things that frustrate you, things that you would like to see change, because as with every single entrepreneur will tell you, that's how they built their business. Something frustrated the hell out of them, and they're like, hey, this happened with Instagram. The story with Instagram is his wife was like, I am not a photographer. We need something that with our smartphones that we can put something to make the images look more professional. And that's where, as a developer, he created something that became as powerful as it is now. And that's because she wanted to showcase their vacation in a more professional manner without having the resources, right? The filters is what made Instagram. So being able to choose a subject that frustrates you, help you drive the content for you to create for blogging. This is what I mentioned earlier before. You can use the LinkedIn Local website if you want to have some, ideas, because building your audience through LinkedIn Local will allow you to gain feedback and from the comments and the content. And this is how any successful digital content creator will tell you, is they create content based on the feedback of the users. The best content creator is nothing without their users. So don't be afraid, because I know a lot of the times you may be afraid of people backlash and saying, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Chances are that person just have way too much time on their hands, and if they want to come back to you, let them do it with another blog, right? So this is just some insight in case you wanted to get involved with ACM and use LinkedIn Local. To get to that, I would suggest you build your portfolio and ensure that you have enough views and engagement to showcase that you are capable of bringing something to the table. And that's extremely important. I want to be able to employ more Caribbean content creators, but I don't want to do so at the detriment of the quality of the content for us. So again, if you have interest in that, I put the link in for the LinkedIn Local event. I could share my screen now. You could register if you want to do that. And what we will do is just run through some of the things that are required as a volunteer. And you can also head over to acmcaribbean.com, where we have you can have a contact us if you're interested in blogging. Again, you must have some kind of portfolio, please. I beg of you. It's the least you could do for me. Thanks. So I've put the link in the description, and LinkedIn, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, you could just head over to linkedinlocalcaribbean.com. In the event section, you have it here. And I'm hosting that, and I'll share further insights in some of the things that we are looking for volunteers. So that's it from me today. I hope that you were able to gather some type of information and it was of value to you. If it is that this inspired you to start blogging, please tag me in it, because I want to see, I want to read, I want to know that I'm part of your growth. All right, guys. Hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you next week for the next ACM live session. Bye, guys.